A lot of people talk about the weird stuff that happens at Disney. They talk about the tunnels under the park. They talk about the ghosts that supposedly haunt the grounds. They talk about the weird cabal of CEOs who make blood sacrifices or the abandoned parks. But I don't think anyone has seen what I saw on that summer evening in 2006, and I hope they never do. I was working for the Disney parks while I attended college, back when a scholarship and a part-time job would still get you something. I had been at Epcot for a few months, operating rides and occasionally standing in for costumed characters. During the event in question, though, I was working at the Magic Kingdom. They were having a staff shortage, and they needed a few of us to come and work the rides at Tomorrowland. Two of my friends, I won't name them because they aren't important to the story, got sent to Space Mountain, and were excited about it. I got sent to the Carousel of Progress, and even though my friends ragged me about it, I wasn't too upset about it either. For those of you who don't know, the Carousel of Progress is one of the few original stage shows left in the park. It was designed by Walt himself, or so they say, and was one of the few things he took with him to the World's Fair in his day. It's a family show that revolves around a father whose family comes in during various years and gives what they hoped at the time was a decent representation of the future. I remember thinking that, as a kid, the future in the carousel looked bright, and I couldn't wait to get there. But, as an older kid, I thought it was kinda hokey. It was also air-conditioned and pretty easy to operate, so long as you didn't try to move between the stage pieces, which is a whole other piece of Disneyland horror. If you know, you know. So, I started at opening time, counting attendees and closing and opening doors, and it wasn't too bad. I stood in the air-conditioned little room, something that's a great wonder in the Florida heat, and basically just listened to the excited chatter all day from happy families and grumpy adults. The Carousel of Progress was a ride that attracted the tired and the hot usually, and once they got inside and out of the heat, they usually got into a much better mood. I was working a double that day, open to close, so that I could get that coveted 3-day weekend to finish up a project, and as the clock ticked closer and closer to closing time, I put up the velvet rope and put out the sign that said the ride was closed. Now came my least favorite part of the job, cleanup time. Disney had an army of janitors and cleaners, but if an operator left their ride, especially a ride as simple as this one, dirty at the end of the day, they were likely to come back to a pink slip in their box, or maybe a boot in their ass. I was running the little brush broom to get all the old popcorn and wrappers up so I could run the vacuum before I went home, but I kept looking at the dad animatronic as he sat there in the darkness of the show stage. If you've never seen one of Disney's animatronic shows, then you might not understand how real they look sometimes. I mean, they don't look like people, but they kinda do, too. It's hard to explain. Most of the ones that are human animatronics, and Epcot has a ton of them, tip the uncanny valley just enough to make your brain question. Not to mention that the eyes are pretty expressive for marbles or whatever they use, and having them look at you is kind of unnerving. I kept glancing at the dad. I think his name was John in the show, and in the dim theater setting on the dark stage, it was downright creepy to have him scrutinizing me. "What the hell are you looking at?" I asked, half joking. "Why, at you, Paul," he answered back, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack right there. Paul isn't my name, but for the sake of the story, I'll call myself Paul. I was taken completely off guard, and as the lights came up and the soundtrack ran in that slow, woozy way it does when it's just getting warmed up, I felt like I'd slipped into a nightmare. Someone had to be messing with me, but I couldn't imagine how. All this was pre-recorded. The show had a voice cast and a script, so there was no way that someone could just speak to me in the dad's voice. "What?" I ejaculated, not at my most eloquent. "I said I'm looking at you, Paul," he trumpeted, And at that point, all the weird little things on the set started moving too. The dog sitting beside him barked and wagged its tail happily. One of the kids peeked around the corner and went away, something I didn't know they could do. And the various little odds and ends on the set wiggled or moved like they sometimes did. I backed up, wanting space between myself and the stage, not really sure what to expect. "Okay, ha, you got me. Who's behind the curtain there?" "Oh, it's no joke, Paul," the animatronic said, his eyes boring into me. "I just thought I'd show you that there's a great big beautiful tomorrow just ahead of you." At that point he started singing the theme song, the one the ride is named for, and I went for the door. This was too weird, and I just wanted to get out of here before I had a panic attack. I don't mind animatronics while they're acting like animatronics, but when they start acting like this, I draw the line. The door, however, wouldn't budge, and when the dad laughed, I turned to find him standing on the edge of the stage. He couldn't be, though. There were no wires or rails that could have taken him there. But he was, just staring at me. "You can't go back, Paul. That's not how life works. No, we have to go forward to the future." He was singing again, the stage slowly pivoting as the words washed over me like a cold rain. "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a dream away." There's usually more to the song than that, but they just kept repeating those two lines as the scene changed, the dad singing it in his many voices as they changed to something that wasn't in the script. It rolled around to show me a green field, something like you might expect to see football players on. And to my surprise, there I stood. It was a perfect representation of me, in the face anyway, and I was dressed in my cap and gown as my mother stood next to me. Both of us had that uncanny valley look that animatronics always have, and as the scene began, I was surprised to hear my own voice coming out of the thing. "I didn't think this day would ever come," I said, holding up a diploma in my hand, the one that wasn't hugging my mother. The two of us looked like Rankin Bass characters as we talked, and it would have been funny if it wasn't so weird. "I'm so proud of you, honey," Mom said. It sounded just like her. "I just wish Dad could have been here." That sent a cold chill running through me. What the hell was this? There was no way this was happening. Also, my dad was alive, so I didn't understand what exactly I was watching here. "I know, dear. I hate that you had to take a year off so you could get us through the tough time, but I appreciate your sacrifice." The two of them embraced as the stage rotated again. The dad was back in his usual spot, those far too expressive eyes boring into me as he came back into view. The dog he had beside his chair had its head down and was making a low noise in its throat. It sounded like he was worried about something, and his own eyes were looking everywhere, except at me. "Oh my, looks like a mixed bag in your future, but I suppose that's life. We take the good, we take the bad, but don't get discouraged, youngster. Life moves quickly. Things change just as fast. Let's see what's in store for you 10 years down the line, instead of just in the coming year." The stage began to rotate again, and as the dad sang his song, I could see the dark space beyond it swing around. It looked like the living room of an apartment that still hung in shadow. I didn't know what to expect, but as the stage rotated, my brain felt blasted as the song rolled over it. "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a dream away." The lights came up, and I was standing beside a table with a cup in my hand. I wasn't in my cap and gown anymore. I was dressed in jeans and a band t-shirt, taking slow and mechanical sips, looking around as music played in the background. It looked like a house party, or maybe the after party for a band. And as I sipped at whatever was in the cup, someone came in from off stage. She was cute, her blue hair poking from beneath a beanie, and her black skirt was swishing as she came towards me. The detail was amazing, and I could even make out the black and white Vans that she was wearing, and the lip ring jutting from her full lower lip. "Hey, handsome, I'm Jenny. Want to blow this place and find somewhere quieter?" The me robot nodded and followed her out of the scene as it transitioned again. Then the lights came up, and there I was again. I was definitely older, my hair grayer, and I had the start of a 5 o'clock shadow beard. A woman was sitting on the couch, a remote in one hand, and something I thought might be a cigarette in the other. By the look on her far too expressive face, I was willing to bet that it was some of the stuff that my coworkers smoked in their car before shift. The robot appeared to be looking at something on the table. As he picked it up, I could already tell it was a bill. It had a final notice stamped on the back, and I turned mechanically to the woman as I held it out to her. "They're getting serious about these. The lights are already off, and the water won't be far behind. At this rate, we'll be homeless by the end of the month." The woman took a deep intake from the thing that might be a cigarette, and slowly turned her head towards me as she breathed out smoke. "So work more hours. The bills are your job, not mine." Her head slowly turned back to the TV as the thing that might be a cigarette came back to her mouth. He looked like he wanted to say something, but instead he just sat silently and watched the woman on the couch. The two of them sat in silence for quite some time, until after what felt like hours, the stage rotated again. I expected the dad to come back, but it transitioned to a similar scene, though it was definitely more chaotic. The apartment was still there, but the chairs were knocked over, and the TV had a big crack in it. There was trash and broken things all over the floor, and the two animatronics appeared to be very close to each other. They were in each other's faces, their eyes and features furious, and the skin looked bruised like they'd been fighting. "Get out, Jenny," the one who looked like me was yelling. "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep carrying you." "Fuck you, Paul. You can't kick me out. This is as much my home as yours." The me animatronic walked past her off stage. "I don't care. Get out. I don't need you here. All you do is smoke and take my money. Find someone else to mooch off of." The girl, no longer the sexy rocker that she had been at the start, walked over to the table and picked something up. "If I can't call this home, Polly, then no one can," she breathed, and started off after him. I had just registered that she had a knife in her hand when the stage began to turn again, and I was left looking at the terrible face of the father. He was quiet too, those eyes boring into me as I slowly backed away from the stage again. I would have just kept right on backing, but the wall came into contact with my backside. Suddenly there was a light behind the windows that sat behind him. There was a flash too, and I thought, maybe imagined would be more likely, that I could hear rain coming down in the background. The set where he sat, a place that usually lights up when he's on stage, stayed dark. It made the eyes all the worse, and the dog beside his feet never so much as twitched. I could see him sitting there in the dark, furry and solid as ever, but it never so much as wagged its tail. I could easily believe that he was dead, but he was a robot, so that seemed a silly thought anyway. Still, it was a thought that wouldn't leave. "Oh dear, looks like your tomorrow might not be as bright as you thought. I suppose not everyone can have such a fate, but maybe yours gets better. Let's have a look a little further. You know what they say. It's always darkest just before the light. After all," he trumpeted, and as the stage turned, I could hear the song once again, but it sounded different. The tone was pitched down, the stage hitched a little as it rotated, and the song went on and on, the music slowing to a nearly carnival sound as the overhead lights flickered and the thunder crackled over the speakers. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow. And tomorrow is just... It cut off as the dark stage stopped turning. It didn't light up this time. It just stayed dark. There were no animatronics, no sets, just pitch black darkness. All I could do was watch the stage, hoping for something, but nothing came. I don't know how long I sat there. I just kept waiting for the song to play again or the stage to move, but it didn't. When the lights suddenly came back on, I heard someone grumbling as they pushed the door open and came in. Damn kids, least they could do is clean up before skipping out. I swear to God, I'm gonna talk. It was the night janitor, and he stopped grousing when he saw me shaking with my knees against my chest. Jesus, you scared the hell out of me, kid. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I didn't answer. I just cut and run. I ran to the employee entrance. I ran through the tunnels. I ran until I got to my car, and once I was on the road, I didn't stop driving until I was back home again. The door closed firmly behind me. I called out the next day, and luckily, the custodian hadn't said anything. He hadn't mentioned finding me on the ride to anyone either. That or he just didn't know who I was, I guess. When I came back, they put me back in Epcot, and I never went to the Magic Kingdom, at least not to work again. That should be where it ends, but it's what came after that makes me think there might be something to the experience. A year later, you see, my dad died. He had a massive heart attack and just died right next to the car he was restoring. He was 42. It hit my mom pretty hard. Suddenly, I was the breadwinner, the one to keep things moving. Held me back a year, and I graduated from college late. As I sat at my dad's funeral, as I heard the will being read, as I studied for finals, and even as I shook the hand of my teacher at the award ceremony, all I could remember was that damn song, and how it was all coming true. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a dream away. 3 years after I graduated, I was at a party. I'd been invited last minute. One of my coworkers had asked if I wanted to come to his house party, and I'd said yes. I was working as a teacher's aide, my Disney days behind me now, and I needed a break. Between helping the teachers plan and grade papers, the guy I was with was kind of lazy and terrible at his job, a job I figured I would have in a year or two. My mother was slowly spiraling into depression as well, and I just needed a few hours where I didn't have to think. I was drinking at the snack table when I heard a voice that made me hear that song again for the first time in years. I almost expected to turn and see that robot girl, but instead it was the spitting image, just inches behind me. Hey, handsome, I'm Ginny. Want to blow this place and find somewhere quieter? She was smiling at me when I turned around, but her face registered nothing but confusion as I turned and ran through the crowd to escape the party. I left without her, never so much as gave her my name, and I thought I had avoided my fate. I couldn't save my dad, but maybe I could change things for the better in other ways. I could still save myself. I could still help her not to do whatever it is that ended my life, and maybe that was enough to alter fate. Maybe. But maybe not. Lately, you see, we've been bumping into each other more and more. She appears to be doing well, probably better than me, but she always stares at me when we come face to face on occasions. We never say anything, and I always leave quickly, but I can see the confusion in her eyes. She knows something is supposed to happen, that we were meant to do something important, but unlike me, she has no clue about how our self-destruction ends. I've begun to notice, though, that my hair is getting grayer. My appearance is starting to look a lot more like the animatronic I saw walk off stage, before probably getting stabbed. Sometimes when I look at my face in the mirror, I hear that song as it bounces around my head like a super ball full of poison. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow. Tomorrow is just a dream away. Makes me wonder if I've changed anything at all.
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.